Hey guys, gals, and everything in between. What's going on? Previously I've shown you how to use Obsidian and one file commander. Today I'm going to show you how to use Raindrop to basically overhaul as a pipeline for your learning system. So this is crucial for learning because one of the downsides to the internet and search engines is that it basically rewired people's brains. Instead of verbatim memorizing things, people now remember how, like, where things are stored to access that information. For good or bad, that's the way most people's brains work now. So Raindrop is a private bookmark collection service, and it is free. Although you can pay like a few dollars to allow storing multiple documents. So not only does this store a bookmark to websites, this will allow you to highlight sections in a website for quick summaries, and then you can easily export that into Obsidian. So I'm going to show you an example here. So we're going to come here in Wikipedia, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use Raindrop practically, and how it can be used in multiple ways. So first off, to make a bookmark, you're going to click the raindrop icon, or you're going to copy the link and then paste it into the Raindrop app. This does work on mobile as well, which is why it's so good. It can be used on any device. So you click this right here. So once this opens here, go to where you want to add it. You can either save tabs, so you can save every tab you have. You can upload a file or add highlights. You do need the premium version for highlights, which is like the most useful part of the tool. So we're just gonna go ahead and click here, and so this adds it as a visible thumbnails, so you can actually add your own screenshots to these. So if I click this right here and I click screenshot, this takes a screenshot of the web page, so you can easily discern one from the other. Now here's one of the most useful tools, and are the tags. So you can search by tags instead of searching through the directory. So I'm going to add ethics. Let's add two ethics just because whatever. Um, so you can add notes here. There's no limit that I've seen that you can add notes here. So now that we have that added, you'll see the check mark icon here. So let's say we want to highlight information that we can extract into Obsidian for a YouTube project. This is good for organizing information for YouTube projects as well as just learning in general. So value pluralism or ethical pluralism is basically the idea that no single ethical framework is complete. Every ethical framework, minus mine, has a lot of blind spots in them, such as utilitarianism values the majority over the minority. So, under a utilitarian framework, it is anti-disability, it is anti-racial minorities, it's anti-minorities in general, which is one of the essential core problems of utilitarianism. And so, this is basically the idea that you can combine different ethical frameworks to get a more solid, cohesive, coherent framework. So, value pluralism is a theory that meta ethics, rather than a theory of normative ethics, are a set of values in itself. Oxford philosopher and historian of ideas Isaiah Berlin is credited with being the first to popularize a substantial work describing the theory of objective value pluralism, bringing it to the attention of academia. The related idea is that fundamental values can, and in some cases do, conflict with each other's, which each with each other is prominent in the political economy. Max Weber, who uses the term polytheism to describe a contradictory yet rationalized immaterial tendencies such as the state and the market. Let's say that we want to add a highlight here. We'll select it, and then we'll go down to raindrop and we'll hit add highlights. So now from here, we can add different colors. So you may have a fact check. So for instance, for incorrect information or negative values, you can use red, you can use green, blue, yellow, whatever. It depends on how you want to use it. Now, one of the amazing things with highlights is that you can add a note in the highlight. So you can add information to this selection. So I click this, and now I can add unlimited data as a note. So I could do an example. This is a highlight note. This will be relevant later on. And it adds a white line to show you that there's a note of this highlight. Now you can do this for entire Wikipedia pages, so you basically have a summary of Wikipedia pages or anything, and then you can quickly extract that information anytime you need without ever having to necessarily go back to the page, which is amazing. So let's just say we made multiple highlights here. Now we'll go back to Raindrop. Here is our highlight. Now, as you can see, this yellow is the highlight we made. So if I click edit, what you want to do is you want to click the eye icon and it'll take you to a preview with the highlight. From here, you can click the copy button, you can add the plus to, or you can even download the highlight into a file, which you could use for AI, Google Docs, anything like that. So this is how you quickly access your highlights and copy to transfer the information. So we're going to, so you click preview here, and this gives you the page right here, the full page. And this shows a yellow bar. If you click the bar, it goes to your highlights. And this shows your highlights here. Now, say you wanted to basically extract all of your highlights into Obsidian. You would click this button here, and this will copy the highlight, and then you can paste that into Obsidian. I shouldn't need to explain why this is so amazing. You can add highlights. You can export highlights into a CSV or a file for AI, for instance, if you wanted to. So yeah, that's how you make highlights and how you store information. Now, some of the other benefits to this is that you can store document files themselves, not just bookmarks. And you can share, you can make public links. As you can see, my these links are public. So this it works essentially kind of like a website, which is amazing. I love it. This is like single-handedly like one of the best tools you can use to learn for free and paid. Um, and so you can use this as a website. So you could host HTML files, and then people can look at the HTML file as essentially as a website. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So you can drag PDFs directly in here. You can add document files, any sort of documents. You can even add pictures. You can add. I don't know if you can add GIFs, but you can add pictures as well. So this allows you to share various documents, not just with yourself and your workflow pipeline, but other people as well. Now, I'm going to show you a really practical use on how you can use this with AI to learn using AI. A lot of people think that you can't learn with AI. You absolutely can. So this is how you can learn with GPT. One of the problems, or any AI, one of the problems with AI and learning is that you have like hundreds or more chats and they're not organized. Well, this is where Raindrop comes in handy. You can bookmark and organize your chats just like you would Obsidian. This is amazing. So right off the bat, I'm going to come here and save this. I'm going to save this right here, click save, and now I've added this. Now, what I typically do is I use a bracket system to identify my chats easier. So I'll add GPT hyper sanity. Now for the fun part. Now let's make highlights of specific texts that are relevant so we can ignore the irrelevant bits. So, say you want to highlight specific things for a highlight that you can export into Obsidian or anywhere else. And again, you can do this on your phone as well. Now, you can, again, here's the amazing part. So, you could add essentially an entire chat under one highlight. Again, you have to pay for this. It's like $3. It's worth it if you're serious about learning. So you could copy the entire chat and add it as one highlight. I don't need to explain why this is amazing. It is amazing. So now we have that. Now if we go back to our raindrop and we go to meta-cognition, here we have it. So we'll click edit and then we'll go to web. Oh no, we can't do that. Okay, so you'll go to permanent copy for GPT. Some sites are private and they require you to sign in so it can be messy. So if you go to permanent copy, there'll be the highlights here. So if I click this button, it copies the highlight, and then I can paste this into Obsidian. You can also export highlights into a CSV or other file for like Google Docs or something like that. So what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll highlight some irrelevant bits. Now that we have this highlighted and we can easily access, you know how to access your highlights. Let's go down here. So you can highlight different colors for different methods. As I was explaining, you can add information to the text. One thing you can do is you can copy a generation, highlight the prompt, and then add the generation to the prompt. So you can tie the relative information. So I could highlight this and let's make it blue. Now I can copy all of this for the generation and put the generation under the prompt. So now I have the generated information tied to the prompt itself. This is amazing. This is so helpful for copying your information into Obsidian to study manually. And one example, so for instance, I'm studying this series on metacognition by MetaThink. So I posted a screenshot of the video with a link to the video, so it has access to the information in the video. So this has a table that's hard to make out, but the GPT makes it easier for me to study. The listed summary says the lecture frames metacognition as awareness and control of your own thinking, including thoughts, feelings, attention, and memory, not just thinking about thinking. From the screenshot, the slide is classifying areas where metacognition applies: memory, knowing how you remember, forget, retrieve, and reinforce information; reasoning, knowing how you make arguments, solve problems, detect contradictions, and use logic; physical, knowing how body state affects thinking, sleep, pain, stress, disability, hunger, and fatigue; emotional, knowing how emotion affects judgment, attention, motivation, threat detection, and bias. He is saying metacognition is not one skill for one subject. It is a control layer that can be applied to almost any domain. For studying, do not watch it passively. Use this structure while watching. Capture the claim. Example: metacognition helps you improve by understanding which mental system is involved. Translate it into your own words. Example: I can't improve thinking in general. I need to identify whether the failure is memory, reasoning, emotion, or physical state. Apply it to yourself. Example: when I struggle with math, this is not proof I am stupid. It may be a reasoning symbol processing issue, memory load issue, dyscalculia issue, or emotional overload issue. Dyscalculia is a learning disability that prevents you from doing math. Turn it into a diagnostic question. Example: is my current failure caused by not knowing the concept, not remembering the steps, emotional threat response, or physical exhaustion? A hyper-sanity compatible compression or summary would be that metacognition is a diagnostic layer above thought. It identifies which subsystem is producing failure: memory, reasoning, body state, emotion, attention, or strategy. Once the correct subsystem is identified, improvement becomes targeted instead of vague self blame. Use this note while watching. So, this is a study note that you can copy into Obsidian and use elsewhere. So, metacognition is the ability to observe and regulate your own mental processes. It is not merely thinking about thinking, it is the practical ability to classify what kind of mental process is happening, detect whether it is working, and adjust the strategy. Core domains shown in the lecture: memory, reasoning, physical state, and emotional state. This matters because failure is often misclassified. A person may say, I am bad at this, when the actual issue is poor memory strategy, emotional overload, lack of sleep, unclear reasoning steps, or physical stress. Metacognition improves learning by replacing vague self judgment with accurate diagnosis. Core question: what kind of problem am I actually happening? And I'll show you an example of why AI is so good for people with disabilities to learn. So, what kind of problem am I actually having? Possible answers: I do not remember it. I do not understand the logic. I'm emotionally dysregulated. My body state is interfering. I'm using the wrong strategy. I understand it passively but cannot apply it actively. Metacognition is a recursive cognition applied to the self. It transforms thought from an automatic reaction into an inspectable system. Instead of asking, why can't I do this? It asks which part of the cognitive process is failing and what correction does that require. So this is an issue I've had with my learning disabilities and head injuries because my stepdad hit me in the head a lot growing up. And no, I'm being completely serious. I have scars proving head injuries. So this is one of the reasons why AI is very helpful. I can ask it a specific question that I can't ask another person reliably without bias. So I understand it passively, but cannot apply it actively. This is like when you see something and you understand it when it's being said or you read it, but you're not able to formulate it into words. Like you can't summarize it, for instance. So right here, I said, I understand it passively, but cannot apply it actively. I did that by highlighting this and then hit Ask GPT, and then you ask it a question in reference to the selection. So I said, this is basically me 90% of the time due to disabilities, etc. Is there an official term for this or a way to fight it? Yes, so this is called inert knowledge. You know the information, but it does not activate when you need to use it. In learning science, this means knowledge that can be remembered or recognized but not applied effectively in real situations. The foundation for critical thinking calls this inert for information taking into the mind but not genuinely understood or usable as activated knowledge. There's a transfer failure. You understand something in one context, like when watching the video, but cannot transfer it to a new context like writing, arguing, organizing, studying, or making decisions. This is why someone can understand an example but freeze when the example changes. A really good way uh, to to bypass this learning barrier. This is a barrier to learning, and you don't have to be disabled to encounter this barrier, is you can ask GPT something that you're having trouble understanding and either turn it into a riddle, or you can make flashcards. You can have GPT make flashcards. You can have it quiz you in the form of a story. This makes learning fun, and that is one of the key that is why people use AI to learn essentially, is because AI can make learning fun. And that is half the goal. If you're not interested in learning, then you're not going to learn. Like most people are not interested in learning. I am. So executive dysfunction: when the problem is not understanding but initiating, organizing, sequencing, sustaining attention, switching tasks, or applying the knowledge. ASHA defines executive functioning as interrelated processes, including initiation, inhibition, attention shifting, organization, goal setting, completion, and planning. Cleveland Clinic describes executive dysfunction as a disruption in managing thoughts, emotions, and actions. So ADHD causes executive dysfunction. This is why people with ADHD get called lazy, and it's not their fault. This is a barrier. You're not to blame for your learning barriers and things that affect your brain. So the clean phrase for what you described is passive understanding with active application failure, often caused by inert knowledge transfer failure and or executive dysfunction. In hypersanity terms, your cognition can recognize the truth, but the execution layer fails to operationalize it. It is not the same as being stupid. It means the bridge between recognition and retrieval and sequencing and action is impaired or overloaded. The way to fight it is not try harder. It is to externalize the missing executive function. Use this sequence. Convert every concept into an action. Bad. I understand metacognition better. When I get stuck, I will ask, is this memory, reasoning, emotional, physical, or strategy failure? Used forced retrieval, not rereading. After watching a section, pause and write what it said without looking. Carnegie Mellon describes retrieval practice as active recall that strengthens memory, understanding, and the ability to apply content. So this is a good way to counter curves in learning with AI is using forced retrieval. So you can do this. Also, if you have it narrate a section of audio and you read it as you're hearing it, this absorbs into your brain better, your memory. Make a trigger rule. Your brain needs a cue. Example: when I understand something but cannot do it, I will stop and label the failure: memory, reasoning, emotion, body state, attention, or sequencing. Reduce the task to the next physical action, not study metacognition. Instead, open note, write one claim, write one example, and write one question to it. Build templates so you do not have to rely on working memory. So you can do this in Obsidian. You can build a template for metacognition for bottlenecks. Working memory and executive function are often part of the bottleneck. The Institution of Education Sciences describes executive function as attention regulation skills that help keep goals and information in mind, resist distraction, tolerate frustration, reflect, and plan. Use this mini template every time. Problem: what do I passively understand? Where does active use fail? What is the failure type? Memory, reasoning, emotion, physical, attention, or sequencing? Smallest next action. Example I can practice on. What worked, and what failed. And then you fill in this in your Obsidian. The key move is this: stop asking why can't I do it and start asking which cognitive subsystem is failing. This turns shame into diagnosis. It changes the problem from identity collapse into system repair. Like that. And one of the cool things is it gives you the link to where you copy and pasted it from, and it tells you that this is a highlight note. So if I have a long section, like different sections of highlights, I can essentially just copy and paste those only the relevant parts that I want to study. This will save you dozens of hours in the long run. Again, to use the highlight feature, you need to pay for it, and it's only like $3 a month. It's highly worth it. You can basically create your own website. You can share private documents with other people via email, or you can make documents completely public and essentially have your pseudo website using HTML documents and PDFs. This also allows you to share private GPT chats. You can export a GPT chat as a PDF, upload it to your Raindrop, and then share that PDF for other people to learn from, and for educational purposes or entertainment purposes. So be sure to check out the playlist Hyper Workspace in the description below.